All right, back for another video. Hopefully you can hear me good. I don't have a whole lot of subscribers, especially probably people that are tuning into this motorcycle, and it's just my hopes that people that are looking at this bike, or they have it and they just are looking because they're interested in their machine, they love their bike that they have, and or people that are looking to get this. This is a 2020 Ducati Monster 821. They were pretty much the same for 2018, 19, and 20. Even 15, 16s are almost very identical and share some similar parts. I'm not a die-hard, long-term Ducati know everything, so I may say something wrong, and I'm not going to try to tell you that I know everything and spout off numbers, because they might be wrong, and you know, people are really quick to point that out. But I just want to come to you again today. I've got probably 6 or 7 videos so far, and I just really want to express what I've had this bike 2 months now. I bought it just for the people that haven't been seeing the previous videos. I bought this pre-owned from AMS Ducati Dallas. They get premium bikes in from people that are very well-to-do, and they don't ride them a lot. They have a lot of other toys, and so these sit in their garage. They get ridden a little bit. The owners will spend some money on the bikes, usually do the first service, which can be quite expensive, and get that out of the way so you don't have to do that. You're not paying freight prep or build or whatever they want to call it, so you get a big discount there. I've got some different parts on this. I got a Ducati tank protector is what they call that, you know, kind of, they label it carbon fiber, but those are like $70. Ungodly. But that was on there, and a little you know, a Ducati master cylinder cover, and it has a little carbon fiber inlay. That's probably $50. Who knows? I don't know. I mean, I've looked at some of these prices, but I also have I think they all come with the, you know, the rear seat cowl that comes on there, but that's like $250 if it doesn't. And then it's got the Terminioni exhaust, which is, I think, $1,600. It's not the full titanium portion, because Terminioni had couldn't really develop a better header pipe than what was on there. I mean, they could have made a titanium header pipe that probably was identical to that and charged $5,000 for that exhaust, but I'm glad they didn't. So, but it's considered a slip-on, but it comes with Terminioni programming for the Ducati bike, so that it's jetted and AFR is all correct, and it gets rid of the catalytic converter, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a lot more free-flowing, more performance. I've taken my baffles out again. I put my baffles in when I bought the bike. The baffles were taken out. I felt it was a little too loud because I ride in the evening times, but then after getting used to it, I was like, man, I think I'm taking those baffles out. And so I've been really getting used to the bike, and I've been having a blast on this motorcycle. I may have, you know, said some things, you know, in the previous videos where you could say, man, I don't think he really likes that bike, but I liked it when I got it, or else I wouldn't have bought it. But there are some growing pains, you know, growing into this bike, from if you're a Japanese bike rider or another brand bike rider, which, you know, it's just something to get used to. And I think I've gotten used to it. So this bike is just such a blast to ride. I'm having such a good time. Let me break down what kind of riding I'm doing. I'm talking with my hands on. I need to get my hands like this, but I am mainly riding it around town. You know, I like parking my car and not putting miles on my car, and plus, you know, your car just consumes a lot more gas. I mean, this is probably getting, you know, in the 51, 52 miles to the gallon, which is better than my car. My car is a twin turbo car. It takes super unleaded, nothing other than super unleaded. And so it gets expensive, and it drinks gas. You just run errands in that thing, and you can watch your gauge drop. And even though it gets like 30, 32, 33, you know, 35 on the highway, it's an awesome car. But this is just such a blast to get on. And so I do a lot of, you know, jaunts, you know, 10-minute, 20-minute. I have done some jobs, my photography jobs, where I put my camera gear on my back and I travel. One time I went 110 miles round trip, and it was more in the heat, and it wasn't bad. This bike is pretty good on the highway. I mean, I wish it had a cruise control. That'd be, nice. I've never had a bike that had cruise control, but I could see myself liking cruise control. But it did really, really well on the highway, 75, 80, maybe it was fine. Wind wasn't bad. I mean, it's a motorcycle. I mean, you're gonna have some wind. That's part of the fun of having the motorcycle, is experiencing the environment around you. I mean, I don't want to ride a couch. But I could see 100 and 110 miles an hour. The wind, might become more of a problem. I mean, you have to hold on a lot more, and it's a blast of a lot more air at that speed. But this bike's just been such a great motorcycle, and I've had so much fun with it. I've just been leaving it in urban mode because I'm riding in an urban environment, and there's times where I'm in traffic and the cars are putting around and they're congregating around me, and I'm like, screw this, and whoa, 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 on the throttle, and it just launches and goes. It's so much fun. My R6 that I had, which was a modern R6, it wasn't, a 2000, 2001, 2002, I think it was like a 2009 R6, and they haven't changed a lot. Just the RPMs were up higher. You had to really make that bike sing in the RPMs, and then when you did, you felt like you were going 120. And my speed's more around 60 to around 88, 89, 90 miles an hour. That's my kind of, well, then I need to tone it back a little bit. When I hit about 90, I'm like, that's good. I might hit 100, but it's only for a short moment, and then I'm good. The bike's just phenomenal. And in sport mode, it's even better because it's got more horsepower. It's a lot faster. And I would say just even in urban mode, the bike is way fast. As fast as I really need it, and so that's just a cool thing about this bike, is you can turn it down and you can turn it up. I think in this full sport mode it gets a little more clunky at low RPMs. I think it runs a little hotter. That may just be my mind. And I think that, I don't know, the shifting gets a little clunkier when you're, at lower RPMs in the city, stoplight to stoplight and stuff. But so that's why I leave it in urban mode. But I mean, it's just been such a great, I just cannot wait. I've been riding this thing every single day. So if that doesn't show you, I mean, I can't stress anymore. If you're looking at getting a bike and you want an Italian bike, or a bike of this nature, get a Monster, but if you're looking for a Panigale or a Street Fighter, then that's maybe a little different breed. We're talking maybe another 40, 50 horsepower, and that's like kill you quick horsepower. That's like you gotta be a pretty good rider. Even though I could ride one of those very easily and not endanger myself, it's just the urge to just pin that thing and maybe get a little squirrely is always there when you have that amount of horsepower, where this one is just more planted. The negative, you can see it as a negative, you can see it as a positive. This bike feels, or this 821 feels kind of like a Harley, when you're moving it around or at slow speeds. Harley Sportster, I don't know, I've ridden a Harley Sportster before, but I don't know if they have a smaller one and an 1100 or a 700 and 1100. I can't remember right off. I'm not a Harley fan really. But I rode one, and they're just a little more heavy and a little more cumbersome. So when you're walking around pushing this bike, or you're slow maneuvering, it just feels really heavy. It feels like a big bike, and that's why I just don't think it's a good beginner bike. And I've talked about that before, not being what I would recommend for a beginner rider. Maybe a moderate, mid-level rider, that's not super expert rider, maybe. But I would just say, but where it does shine, when you get on it and you're riding it and you're, above 40 miles an hour and 60, 70, 80, it just becomes so light feeling and so flickable. I mean, it feels so good, and the weight goes away. So that's the good part. It's a very agile bike. The front brake is phenomenal, and the rear brake, you don't want to have a lot of your braking come from the rear brake, but the rear brake is pretty numb for me on this bike. I can pretty much, just test in the rear brake, not use my front, and then come up to a car and try to slow with my rear. And the rear is just, I'd like a little bit more bite. Maybe that's with the pads, a little more bite with the rear. but the front is phenomenal. I mean, you hit that and you feel that instantly, but it's not over grabby, and it's just a phenomenal brake. Now, I don't even know what a radial setup, master cylinder radial, and an upgrade to the front brake would do to this, but it would just blow my mind with the braking there. That would just be phenomenal. I can't tell you how much better it would be, but some of the upper line of the Ducati's bike have that radial master cylinder. This is a monoblock calipers. They may be very, very almost identical calipers. I'm not 100% sure, but I've just want to just come to everybody and just say how much of a blast that I've been having. Like I said, I try to ride it every day, and I'm just riding around town, and the sound of it. I made a little short clip YouTube. I don't like to rev the guts out of my bike, and I think the people that do that are kind of imbecile. Even though this is just a Ducati Monster 821, this is a badass bike. Listen to my Terminioni exhaust. There's not very many bikes that can compete with that exhaust sound. I'm so happy to have it, and I plan on having, if nothing goes wrong and I don't lose all my money, and something drastic doesn't happen in my life, because shit happens, then I want to hang on this bike for a long time. But other than that, that's the video. I'm trying to remember anything else that I want to talk to you about. Love the exhaust. I love everything about this bike, even though there's a little bit of quirks, a little notchy shifting. Doesn't like to run at low RPMs, kind of lollygagging around, but that's understandable. It's a little more amped up bike. It's got its own personality, and I think the Ducatis have a lot of personality. I was looking at an RS 660 and a Tuono 660 before this, and I sat on them, and I immediately knew, no way, this is just not my vibe. Awesome looking bikes, but also the issues with the motors and the electronics on those, it's just my luck. I get a brand new one, and a month in I'd be having to send it in for recalls and recall fix and recalls and a damaged motor, and I'm not doing that again. I've had scenarios like that in the past, and I just want to stay away from that and count my blessings. Even though they may have fixed it by 2022 or 2023, it's just not a guarantee. But that's everything about the video. Like if you found any helpful content, or you just like the Ducati Monster 821, let me know, and I'll catch me on a future video. All right, video's long enough. Bye bye. Have a good day, good night, wherever you are.